Members of the Lime fam far and wide. Hello. You're in for a treat today. And that is because we have got Beth Knight on the program from Emerald and Scenic Cruises. Who is Beth Knight, you might ask? Well, Beth studied musical theater at Trinity Conservatory in London before she decided to set sail and see the world while performing. After visiting over 90 countries, from pole to pole, and most places in between, she's now worked for Scenic and Emerald for the last 5 years, looking after the entertainment for all the ocean ships. So, without further ado, we bring to you our interview with Beth. Well, hi, everybody. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Sam.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy day, which is every day, to chat with us for a little bit.
Yeah, no worries at all. Nice to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. So, to get started, how about we talk a little bit about you, if that's okay? Love to kind of hear, and I've heard a little bit of this story, but I'm sure everybody would like to hear it, how you got started in the cruise industry and how it took you all the way to being basically head of entertainment for both Scenic and Emerald Ocean Cruises, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I originally started my training as a musical theatre singer. So I studied in London for 3 years. My dream was to be on the West End. That was it. If I could be on the West End, that would be amazing.
Sure.
But my first summer vacation, I went and worked abroad, teaching singing and drama in like a holiday park. And it completely opened my eyes to the world, I guess. I'd spent so long being like, London is the be all and end all. And then I moved to London and then realized there's a massive world out there. So I I did that for my first vacation, loved it so much I did it again for the second summer vacation and thought, I don't want to stay in London. I want to go and I want to work abroad. And so I did. I went and worked abroad and I sang and I loved it. And then I thought, but there's so much more to the world than, and
Sure.
I loved working abroad, but I was like, I could go to more than one place in 6 months. And I'd always thought about cruise ships. I'd always thought that looks great. But when I was looking at it, my first thought was like, what do I know? What do I love? And I loved these parks. These holiday resorts were amazing. And so I went and I auditioned for my first cruise ship and got the job and went, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
Right.
So I started working as a singer on cruise ships, went up to cast manager. Um, I even I was working during the pandemic. There was only one ship sailing in the world, chartered by the Saudi Arabian government, and I was the cast manager on board. I'd been working in the office for that company, and when we were chartered, they sent on me and 5 other team members, to be the only people singing at sea. And the Saudis chartered another ship the year after, and that was Scenic Eclipse. So when they reached out and said, there's only a few people that have ever been on board a cruise ship in Saudi Arabia, do you want to come back? I said, yeah, go for it. So
Sure.
I joined Scenic Eclipse as assistant cruise director back in September 2021, which was still during the pandemic, and then stayed with them in classic cruising. I did Antarctica January 2022, and I was there for 3.5 months. And then when Scenic decided to come in-house with their entertainment, they offered it to me and somebody else who was around at the same time, and we came to work for Scenic in the head office, and that's how the entertainment kind of started in-house for Scenic. And I've been doing this now with Scenic for 5 years. So yeah, it was kind of just rolled on and rolled on, and weirdly it was the pandemic that brought me here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there's something so true and familiar about thinking for so many people, depending on where you grew up, whether New York or LA or London is the place to be. And for some people, don't get me wrong, it is, including many artists, musicians, performers. But it's so hard it's so expensive there, and the market is so flooded, which is not to say that it can't be done, but there's so much out there, whether you go work at a resort or whether you hop on a cruise ship, and the path is often easier. And and more lucrative too
Oh,
than doing
definitely.
it.
Definitely. I mean, I have friends who went and they worked in London and they did tours and international tours, and they had an amazing time. But most of the people I know who worked in London had other jobs during the day, or when they weren't in a show, they had to have like a muggle job, as we would call it.
Absolutely.
And I would go away. I did 6 month contracts, and I would come back, and nothing had really changed in their life, but I'd been to 15 different countries.
Yeah.
And it was just wild because I was so tunnel visioned. Like, I didn't even want to do a tour. I wanted to be in London and nothing else. And so when kind of the world opened up to me, my tunnel vision then went from, oh, I don't want to visit 3 countries in a contract, I want to visit 15. The most
Yep.
I think I did 22 countries in 6 months, which is pretty wild. But then I've just been to the Caribbean, and in 2 weeks I did 7 new countries, and
Yep.
that didn't count the islands I'd already been to. So I probably did at least 10 countries in 2 weeks, and it's so easy to do. But it's not for everyone. I think that's also super important. Is that traveling around and living on a ship isn't for everyone, but as a performer or a musician, like, it's an amazing way to kind of hone your skills and figure out what you're good at. I'm a much better performer now than I was when I graduated, because I went and did it and figured out what I'm good at and what I don't want to be going to do, and then being pushed in all these different directions and working out, oh, this is kind of what works for me, and this is what I love. And now when I go back on board, I just sing the things I enjoy. It's great.
Absolutely. Oh, and I mean, same here. I almost everything that I do as a performer, but even beyond that in my life, is the result of working on ships for me. I'm a totally different performer than who I was when I was working on board. As a result of the different ships and the different environments that I was in, I think there's few truer statements in terms of the transformation that you see from performer before ships to performer after ships. And while you're doing it, seeing all these new countries, having all of these new experiences. Again, not for everybody, like you said, but in our biased opinion, worth trying, because you have no
100%.
idea how and where and in what ways it'll change your life. And I couldn't be more grateful for all of it. And really have no idea what my life would be like if I didn't take a chance and work on a cruise ship when I came out of college at 22 and said, sure, to Carnival.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's not for everyone, but I do think everybody should give it a chance, because it just depends where your priorities lie and what's the most important thing. And I think the pandemic was something that really opened my eyes and a lot of people's eyes to what it is that they love. And a lot of people, like, the travel is the number one thing, and that's the most important thing. But what I learned when I was rehiring after the pandemic is saying to people, like, you can go on board, but you can't get off. People were going, I don't mind, because I love
Right.
performing, and I go here and I perform 6 nights a week, and I get to do these amazing shows, and I get to be around these great people. And I'm currently working in a shoe store or a pet store, and they were like, I just
Yeah.
want to do what I love. And
Yep.
some people said, if I can't get off, it's not the job for me. And the travel was the most important thing, which is completely understandable, because it's a really
Yep.
long time to not see anything. But I think there's very few jobs that you have where you live in this bubble, and your job is to perform, and that's what you're there to do, and you live and breathe and survive by performing. And even if you're doing, I don't know, gigs where you live, or like shows around where you are, there's a
Yep.
lot more in your life than just your job. But when you're on a ship, that's the number one thing. You live in the bubble of performance, and I think it's really cool. It's wild.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but it's such an experience to have.
Yeah, it's great to be so laser focused, because then all of a sudden you have time to do other things, whereas working on land and taking muggle jobs, you don't really have the time for it. I mean, if you do, there are some people who do, but again,
Yeah.
just the ability to be on board and have that be your focus where you're performing every night is, yeah, we can't. It seems we can't state it enough.
Yeah,
Or
it's just incomparable because you
yeah,
don't have to worry about cooking dinner
yeah,
or I don't know, mowing the lawn.
yeah,
You're just there to perform. So, oh, I have some spare time. I'll go and visit this country. I'll go hang out with my friends, or I'll just work on my craft, and then
yeah.
you will come out a better performer. There's no doubt about it. Everybody
No
who
doubt.
goes on board will learn something from their experience. You physically
Yeah,
can't. Like, there's
yeah,
no way to go on and not come out a better performer or a more varied performer or more informed performer.
yeah. There's an incredible learning curve. So,
Yeah.
wi- in terms of taking everything that you learned and now managing entertainment for the two lines, the sister lines, in terms of your job scope, right? Because you are working with the cruise directors on board, like the entertainment managers, and you're also working with local acts and hiring entertainment, and you're also putting together shows, right? All
Yes.
of the shows on these different ships are also your brainchild. So how do you juggle all of that? And did I miss anything? I know that there's other responsibilities as well, but you really are I feel like a one woman show in terms of everything that you do for these two
Yeah.
lines. So how do you manage all that?
Well, I wish there were more hours in the day and more days in the
Same.
week.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
the bigger the Scenic get as a company, the more help I do get. So, like, I have an amazing recruitment team that work with me who filter through the CVs before they get to me, and so they'll do first round interviews and schedule and things like that, which is amazing because once upon a time I did all of that as well. The team members I have on board, they do like the face to face act booking, but everything comes through me first. But like that's amazing as well because again, at one point that was all me. So
Yep.
like we have new systems that I keep bringing in something different each year and improving what we have. And like we have an acts list, so we go, oh, we're going to this country, and we look and we've got 10 acts per country, and I will have approved all of those. And
Sure.
then so when the ships are booking, they can look at all of the acts that I've looked at, and then they can book. Or and if they get any new ones through, they send those to me. I sit and watch them and then send it back. I work with a great company who we make the shows with. I've been working with them since I started. I think we're on our ninth show this year, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're great to kind of bounce ideas off. I go, I've got this crazy idea. What do you think? And they go,
Uh-huh.
what about this and this? And we go, have we got an Australian song in there? Because we get a lot of Australian guests.
Sure.
And I
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
is this possible? And they go, I don't know. I go, can we mash up these two songs together? And they go, we'll try. And
Yeah.
usually the answer is yes. But I think it's a huge job. I think with entertainment, a lot of the time people just see the output, and you see the cruise directors doing a show and people go, that's super cool, 45-minute show, and you think, but to do that 45-minute show you need to hire the right people, teach them the vocals, teach them the choreography, and that's just the base. Then you go, oh, that light that changed there, that then changed to this, that flashed here, that took 20 minutes to program that one section. When I
So much.
started, my first show had like 100 cues, and my last show has at least 100 cues per song.
Yeah.
So the more I do, the more I learn. And if I didn't have the people around me who were amazing at what they do, I wouldn't be able to do it. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have somebody else at home working
Uh-huh.
for me, because there
Uh-huh.
are times when I can't physically be in two places at once. But I'm really lucky to have. I say I'm lucky. I wouldn't call it lucky actually. I think we have really good people on board the ships because there's 5 ships this year, and on each ship there's what four people on the Scenic ships, 1 person on the Emerald ships, 2 on Kaya, that
Yeah.
you can choose exactly the right people for the role. And when you have those people, then it makes my life so much easier because I don't have to worry about what's going on, and I can trust them. I
Right.
really wanted to be like a shoreside manager that was there to listen and there to help and there to assist and try and make life easier. But I really wanted to be able to have the trust for the people on board to let them do what they're there to do. If you're a cruise director, you've done enough, you know enough to have the right idea. And I'm here to go, that's a really good idea. I love the sound of that. Or actually, have you thought about maybe doing this? But Scenic, we're still a small company, you know, in comparison, and our ships are so small that it doesn't work if I turned around and said, you must do this, 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 this. It doesn't give people the freedom they want, and it doesn't give people the flexibility that they need. And especially when we're in Antarctica, when the weather changes every 5 seconds, if the ship's got our flexibility, then I've got to give my team members the flexibility as well. So
Absolutely. And delegation is so important for both sides, right? For you, because again, unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day, but you can't be expected to do everything. And even if you somehow manage to do it, it wouldn't be healthy for you and it wouldn't be healthy for them. They thrive when you allow them to have that kind of freedom and flexibility. And I know that there's still quite a thorough and vigilant process to vet and to hire performers, because we've seen it ourselves. So there's clearly a process in place that works really well and still allows you to have a good amount of oversight. So it's not just, well, we're hiring this person and that person, and you haven't made sure that they're going to be a good fit. And I'm sure that that really contributes to the success of each respective ship, because there is that process in place, even though you're not doing everything yourself.
I think entertainment is so subjective, and every day I have to remind myself that not everybody's going to like you and what you do, but
Not
that
even you?
No, gosh, no.
Come on.
mean, most people, but
Right, sure. There's
and
always always one somewhere.
and they're probably the most vocal person out there, and
Right.
it doesn't have a reflection on you as a person or you as a performer. It's just individuals' opinions, and that's why entertainment is really difficult, because someone might not like you, and you just have to take that on the chin and move on and carry on, because there's 98 other people who do. But
Sure.
we're also human and
Yeah.
emotional people, especially as entertainers. So you might get
course.
that one comment who doesn't like what you do, and that's going to stick with you forever. But being in this role I'm quite good at kind of putting that distance between and going, they didn't like what we did there. What
Sure.
can we do to improve it? But also,
Sure.
maybe they just didn't like what we did, and that's also okay.
Right. I think there's that compromise for entertainment, both on board and for the individual performers, and that's part of your job too, is to look at
Yeah.
it and say, well, it's good to have all that feedback, but uh, now we can digest it and figure out where we think we can shift and improve, and what we think might have just been somebody's outlier opinion.
Yes.
And so, in terms of the folks that you hire, so the performers that we're kind of talking about now, who deliver this product that hopefully, what we know that most people like, what we say hopefully everybody likes, but even if there's one who's like, well, I didn't see this, or I wanted this, or whatever. But the performers that you hire, can you talk a little bit about those roles? Because it's possible that folks aren't as familiar with lines like Scenic or like Emerald Ocean, as opposed to maybe some of the bigger mainstream lines. And so what kind of performers are you working with? Who are you hiring on board? And also, what, for those positions, what makes for an ideal candidate?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Scenic and Emerald Ocean definitely is that we're not your traditional cruise line, so we don't hire necessarily traditional roles. So
Right.
Scenic is the bigger ship. The Scenic ships are 126 guests at maximum capacity, so they're super small. Sorry, 200, 226,
Yeah.
200 caps in the polar regions. So they're super small, and it's a discovery cruise as well. So the Arctic and the Antarctic, which is very different, is very different to your classic cruises that just sail the Mediterranean. All the ships are currently in the Med at the moment, and this is the first time since I've been with the company that every ship has been in the Med. This time last year, I think Eclipse 2 was in Japan. So
Sure.
it's very rare that they do classic cruising. So we have a really small team on board. There's the technician who is in charge of all of the shows, all of the events, sounds, lights, screens, everything, lectures. That's their job. That's probably the most standard role there is on board, but there's only one of them. And then we've got our musician. Again, there's just one musician, there's one venue. Sometimes we move you around the ship, so we might set you up in the observation lounge or in the restaurant or for like a party up on deck, but the main venue that they'll play in is the lounge. And on Scenic they have to play 2 instruments and sing as well. So most musicians I've hired have been pianists and guitarists. That seems to be what seems to work really well. A guitar is super portable, so that's really useful. And then the cruise director and the assistant cruise director have to be singers, because they're the 2 people in the show team as well. So they do all of like the game shows, the main shows, cabarets, party sets, boogie nights, discos, everything,
Sure.
as well as all of the traditional kind of cruise director assistant roles where they make the daily program, they do the voyage layout, they set the schedules, they do the announcements, they do the cocktail parties, and kind of everything like that. So it's a really hybrid role, but there is 2 of them, so slightly different role if you're a cruise director or an assistant, but they have to be a performer who can also kind of do everything else. Then when you move over to Emerald, there's 100 guests on Azura and Sakara, and then Kaya is 128. That's our new ship. Azura and Sakara have 1 entertainment specialist, and Kaya currently has 2. And that role I call it a unicorn, because it's a musician. They have to play an instrument. It can be any instrument, but they also need to be able to sing and host the event. So everything from kind of, if it's game shows, if it's a disco night, if it's a open mic night, if it's a music set, whatever it is, they need to be there running the event, as well as doing their sets before dinner. And they'll run like the daytime entertainment. So if it's, I don't know, beanbag toss or ring toss or things like that. So it's a really hybrid role. Kaya currently has 2, and Azura or Sakara have 1, and they work with another member on board to kind of help with the entertainment. But basically anything entertainment adjacent comes under them. And then both ships also have the local acts that come on, which the cruise director and the entertainment specialist, they do all the kind of onboard liaison with them. So if that's, reaching out to make sure you've got their passports, get them on the visitor list, and checking their technical requirements, and telling them where they're going to be playing, and meeting them for the sound check. So really, because of the size of the ships and like the expanse of the role, it's kind of looking for the people that have the confidence to take a step further from traditional kind of musician roles, and who want to have that interaction. When you've got 100 guests on board, if you think on like a normal cruise ship, if you're hitting 30 to 40% of passengers, that's a really good amount. And on our ships, that's 30 to 40 people, or 60 to 80 people. So it's being understanding of that, and knowing that when you've got 30 people in the room who have come to see you, you can be flexible with what you're playing and be interactive and take requests. And I think that's what makes the people we have on board super special, because they want that interaction, they want that one-to-one. And you might turn up to a set and there's 2 people in the room and you're meant to be playing the Beatles, and you say, do you want to hear the Beatles? And they go, kind of. You go, I'll play I'll play around it, see what else I can put in. And you might might be somebody's birthday and they absolutely love, I don't know, the Rolling Stones or AC/DC, and my favourite song is this, they say, and then on their birthday you play it for them. And I think that's what makes it so special. It's the interaction, and it's just intimate. You can kind of tailor for the nationalities, for the age of the guests. And if you're like, actually, these people love trivias, you put some more trivias in. It's so flexible like that. We very much look at the guests and go, what do you want? And then we try and do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it really is taking a performer role to the next level.
Yeah.
And some folks are eager for that, and those are the ones that you want. But yeah, when you say you're calculating the number of the percentage of guests to be interacting with, it's got to be 100% on these ships, right? You get to know everybody on a
Everyone.
100-person ship.
On day one.
On day one, you're friends already. And so you need people who will say, I want this challenge. I want to meet new people. And not only that, because that I feel like is symbolic, I think, of a host position. But then you also need to be an entertainer, and you also need to have that flexibility. And it's a pretty impressive scope of work. But
Yeah.
what we do know is that these positions pay well. I mean, definitely compared to the standard in the industry. Of course, there's a lot that is required of them, but I think the compensation is pretty strong, in addition to getting to see some pretty amazing places on these really special itineraries. So I think the expectations and the responsibility are in line with the compensation on board for these positions, because they're really special. We don't really
Yeah.
see too many of them on, for example, the major lines.
Definitely. They're really special ships, and so you need special people on them. And one of the things that guests keep coming back for is the crew. And because if you go on board a scenic cruise and you go on another one, there's a massive chance you're going to see the same people.
Sure.
And Emerald's even smaller, like 100 guests. That's
Yeah.
50 couples really. So it's so easy to meet people, and you should never get to the end of the voyage and not know who people are, because the ships aren't
That's a
big.
bad sign.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like it's going to take you 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other. It takes,
Right.
a minute 20 maximum.
Right.
So
Right.
you will see everybody, and there's always a way to kind of interact with people, even if they're not late night entertainment people, or if they're, if they're just on to come and see the places. You're also seeing the places, and you've always got something to talk about, because there's always something happening and there's always something to
Absolutely.
see. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's finding people who genuinely enjoy talking to people and who want to have those interactions, because if that's not what you want, then that's absolutely fine. There are so many jobs out there that you play the piano on the podium and people love it and they listen, but you don't actually have to talk to anybody. And that is great for the people that want to do that. But
Yeah.
for these
You don't need
ships,
them.
no, we need people who crave the interaction,
Right.
who want the one-to-one, this is the song I want to hear. Great, I'm going to play it for you. And
Would love to
that's
play
really
it for
cool.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And zooming out a little bit, so beyond the performer roles, what's the general direction of these two lines, right? We have, this luxury slash like really intimate cruising experience that both lines offer. There's nuance, of course, but where do you see Scenic headed, and where do you see Emerald headed?
I mean, when I joined back in 2021, we had one ship, Scenic Eclipse. The next year we launched Emerald Azura. The next year was Scenic Eclipse 2 and Emerald Sakara. This year we've launched Emerald Kaya. Next year we've got Emerald Raya. And then the next year we've got Emerald Zara and the Scenic Icon. So we're getting bigger and bigger, and it's just constantly expanding. And it's crazy, because Kaya, Raya, they're going to be the same size, 100, I think it's 126, might be 128,
Yep.
just slightly bigger than the other Emerald ships. Icon is going to be kind of a new member of the Scenic Discovery yacht family. Both the
Yeah.
Eclipse ships are very similar. This one's going to be bigger, improvements all around. So there's it's a really it's a really good time to kind of get in, because
Yeah.
we're just going to get bigger. And the thing that's really special about Scenic and Emerald now is that we're still in that stage of a company where there's not a lot of people. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's still a big company, and there's offices around the world, and there's always
Of
things
course.
going on. But like,
Right.
realistically, I've got 5 ships, so I know the name of every single person who works for me, every person who used to work for me, and I
That's
think
also
that,
because you have a good memory. Sorry.
well, maybe, but I think I have quite a small department, but it's the same with the galley team, the person who looks after them. They know everybody, because we're not working with crews of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. We're working crews of a few hundred people, and I'm
Sure.
working with tens of people. So the we have kind of the luxury and the flexibility to be able to go, oh, you have a wedding, let me see what I can do, and working around things like that, which is really hard when you're at sea and things like this come up. But we're still in that stage where I can take into consideration, people are humans and we have lives, and what can I do to help you? And
Hmm.
I have really good team members on
Yeah.
board. They're
Yeah.
they're great, and I'm really lucky to have those team members. I know with entertainment, we're all fickle, aren't we? We will move on to other things and try something new. But for me, when you're with Scenic, when you're with me, I just want to make sure you're having a good time and you're enjoying yourselves. And if you want to come back, I want you to come back. And that's always the way that I look at it. So it's we're only going to get bigger, and I
Yeah.
think I really want to keep the mindset of remembering kind of where we came from, and keeping that interaction with the team members, because the ships that I was on was only 600 guests, and they were big. I couldn't imagine being a number of a crew member on when there's 4,000 of you and
Right.
there's 6,000 guests. So
Right.
it's it's just nice knowing that you're a name. And
Absolutely. Of
and
course.
I'm not saying that with other companies you're just a number at all, but I can count the number of people in who are mine. There's not many of us, so it's a nice place to be.
I think that's so important, and I think it really means a lot, and helps shape the department to have that kind of leadership. Most of the lines that we work with don't have that kind of flexibility, don't offer performer flexibility the same way, and it's just different scale. And we totally understand. Hopefully, our performers do. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. When their request gets denied, for example, to sign off early or for a little bit of flexibility in terms of their schedule. But I think to be able to run it like a family and to show that kind of care, that's how you create loyalty. And that's how you get people coming back that say, I want to keep working for Emerald, or I want to keep working for Scenic, because they know that they'll be supported in a way that maybe some other cruise ship environments wouldn't be quite as supportive. And so I think that's a
Yeah.
testament to the way that you run the program, and you do have the luxury of doing it in a place where it's small and you know everybody and you remember everybody. And I love the idea that it will hopefully stay that way,
That's the
even
plan.
as it gets, even as both fleets expand, which is
Yeah.
really exciting. I think for everybody who likes these jobs, it just means they have more options,
Yes, 100%.
and that's
It's
great too.
it's not easy to do, and it's not always possible, but I ask for flexibility from people all the time. I might say, I need you to join a cruise later, or I need you to come on at this point, or I need you to do XYZ. So
Right.
when I can, I want to give it back. In the same way, I ask a lot from my team members. So if there's a
Right.
bit of wiggle room I can give them, I'm a big believer in that. And I'm also a big believer in, like, if your time is done, that's absolutely fine. Give me as much notice as possible and I'll write you a
Right.
wonderful reference letter.
Of course. Yeah.
100%. And I still get them now. I get a team member saying, "Hey, I'm applying for this job and they need a reference." And I'm like, "Of course." Like,
Happy to help.
entertainment's so small. It's such a small industry and everybody knows everybody somewhere along the way. So, you know, I'm just such a big believer in like if you're working for Scenic and you're working for Emerald, I want you to be there because you want to be there. Because if you don't want to be there, then there's, so many more people that do. So if you like what you're doing, stay and have a good time because it's a tough gig. Working at sea isn't always easy, but if you love it, then stay. Have a good
We
time.
say the same thing.
Yeah.
If you love it, stay. As long as you like it more than you dislike it, then
You're
you should
good.
be out there doing it because everyone's going to have complaints on board. It's a tough job, like
Yeah.
you said. As soon as the cons outweigh the pros, go find something else to do because nobody wants that vibe on board.
And
We
especially on
want you to
ships
be
this
happy.
small, like
Of course,
there's
where
no
everyone's around each
time.
other all the time and morale is so important. So, the exact same mantra that we say to our performers too. Let us represent you at sea for as long as you want to be out there. And as soon as you've decided that it's time to move on, please move on. But like you said, please give us notice. Don't just
Yeah.
decide to walk off the gangway the next day and not tell anybody. And also how important making sure to not burn bridges is, to do things the right way, to have
Yes.
integrity down to the final day that you work for a particular line where they're telling you or they're telling us, for example, in different situations, hey, I think I want to move on. And we can say, perfect. Thank you for letting us
Right.
know. We can find a suitable replacement with ample time. That's the
Yeah.
hope. But
Yeah.
I think that just kind of perpetuating that way of working is really important in terms of the success and the support for the different performers. And so final question here, which is back to you. What of all these responsibilities and everything that you do, what brings you the most joy in this space? What at the end of the day, what do you do it for?
Yeah. It's easy. For me, when I was on ships, I used to get the joy from doing the performances, like being up on the stage and singing
Yeah.
and that was why I did it. Like I loved the rush, I loved speaking to people afterwards, I loved doing the shows, and I still go on and I do the shows and I really enjoy it. But I get that same feeling watching my teams do the things. So I'll watch a show on Eclipse and I'm so proud, look how far we've come and look what we've achieved and look at this amazing light that I've done. I'm so proud of that. And I worked
Yeah.
with this technician and and watching like my classical pianist do his classical concert in the middle of a sea day in like the Adriatic. It's awesome. Or like I was just on the Emerald ships and I had, my team members, playing guitar by the jacuzzi as everybody was just chilling out. And I just think entertainment it's such a lovely addition to things that are happening that and I just know how much hard work goes into it. So when I see people doing the things, I get so much joy out of people getting the joy, if that makes sense.
Of course. Yeah. It. I
Yeah,
think
I mean
it's
that's
the
why I do it.
yeah.
I really I do it because of the people that are on there doing it because I know I've been there and I never want to forget that that's where I was and that's what I did and that's what I loved, and so I want other people to love it as well. And when I go on board, it's always hard work. There's so much going on, but just watching someone who's never hosted a game show host a full game show is so cool.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to see.
They're all your babies in a sense on
Yeah.
board. They're your children, and you have a lot of them spread out
Yes.
across the seas. But that pride, I think, just means that you're in the right place right now because I think for anybody to do what you do and to have this kind of responsibility, you should feel that sense of, I think, parental pride because
Yeah.
you are the ones you personally you're kind of making it all happen and putting people in these different positions on board and then ensuring that they find success or doing everything that you can to ensure that they find success on board. And so it's so nice to hear that that's what makes it all worth it for you. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people on board these various ships who owe a lot to you and are really, really grateful for everything that you've done to set them up for success. So thank you, I suppose, so. from them, but certainly from our performers who are on board who are doing that, from the local acts to the performers that sail, the multi-instrumentalists. I know that they're all really grateful for those jobs, and I think a lot of that gratitude just goes back to you and the job
it's
that
a
you
really
do.
cool opportunity. And like my dad's always like, if he'd ever had the chance to do anything like that when he was younger, he would have loved to, but he never had the opportunity. So I just think it's just so cool, and not to take anything for granted. And when you start to take things for granted, that's when you need to kind of reevaluate what you're doing. But when you look and go, I'm on this insane super yacht in this awesome place doing the thing I love, like, yeah, things are hard, and this day was rubbish, but when you look at it from like the big picture point of view, like that's just one thing, and you're going, I'm in Sicily, the sun is shining, I'm gonna do my set later. Like, I just think it's so cool, and I have such a positive mindset that I have to remind myself and be like, no, this is cool. And so much of my work is from home, and it's on the computer, and I send a bagillion emails, and then I go on
Yeah.
board and go, oh, this is why, because this is what they get to do, and this is what the guests get to see, and it puts everything in perspective. I mean, just looking out my window now, like, this grey cloud is rolling in, and I'm, sitting at my desk, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. And then I'll get a message from the team, and they're like, hey, here's a video of a party set we did on the deck in Panama. And I'm like, that's so
You just made
cool.
my day.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. I've got a
Yeah.
team, they're doing like a Bond night in Monte Carlo in a couple of days. And,
Fun.
you know, I always say my life is really boring until it's really interesting. And I've just been on all the ships. I've just had the craziest first part of the year.
Sure.
And everyone's like, your life is crazy. And I'm like, it's only crazy when I'm on board. And it's just such a cool reminder of like why we're all doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing what you're doing. And thanks so much for taking time to chat with me today. I hope that it was really educational and fascinating for a lot of folks watching, and a whole new set of experiences and opportunities for performers, especially those special hybrid performers who
My
can do a
unicorn.
lot. Your unicorns. If you're a unicorn out there and you're like, that might be me, I might be that unicorn,
Yeah.
then reach out to us, because you might find yourself on a Scenic or an Emerald ship sometime in the near future.
Who knows? We've
Who
got so
knows?
many more coming, so I'm looking for a herd of
We could,
unicorns.
yes, yeah, we'll work on it. In the meantime, thanks again, Beth. Really appreciate it. Great speaking to you, and looking forward to the next time we chat.
Thanks, Sam. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.